In January 2018, I got the game Superstar as part of a bundle on Steam for the Steam winter sale called the Sakura Bundle. The Sakura Bundle comprised of 4 or 5 games, the vast majority of which, well, all but one, are now no longer available for sale on Steam. They're essentially abandonware, and Superstar is no exception to that. Superstar was released in 2016. It's an idle stat builder simulation tycoon type game. I don't know what else you would refer to it as. I'm sure there's a better way to put it, but in any event, yes, Superstar is one of those stat builder tycoon games with the main goal of it, the main angle being that you are a talent manager and you have this idol. Basically, it's basically an idol who you just wake up next to one morning, and you have to bring her to be as famous as possible within the course of 3 years before she vanishes or something. And over those 3 years, you spend a lot of money and make a lot of money and try to make her as famous as and well known as possible. And that's really about it. I mean, of course. Now, one of the things that is interesting about this is that this is by a Chinese developer. Although it might look like a Japanese game, it's in the Japanese art style, or at least an approximation of it. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the art style, although I have seen less aesthetically pleasing stuff. The graphics haven't necessarily aged excessively well over the course of, well, since 2016, so what, 7 years now? But it's by a Chinese developer, and because of that, because it comes from China, there are a lot of games like this, but because of that, you kind of see what Chinese sort of figure, what I guess the idol thing is like, the idol dream, I guess, especially when it comes to fans, those who maybe aspire to, raise idols of their own or something, or maybe just, be more, or be closer, be a closer part of the idol's success story or something along those lines. And it's really interesting because, I mean, spoiler alert, I mean, not that you can really play it unless you already got it before it came off the Steam store. I mean, unless you found a way to pirate it or something, which I'm sure there's a site for that. And honestly, I basically pirated it. I mean, not really, but I got it for less than a dollar, which, I mean, I put 6 hours into it. That's more than my money's worth. But, yeah, it's, spoiler alert, you basically, when she disappears, you end up marrying her and having like a family and stuff. It's really fascinating, honestly. This idea, and it's totally normal. Like, it's basically, yeah, it's a stat builder, idol, sim, tycoon sort of game, but also kind of like there's a romantic subplot that happens through the course of the game. And the higher her stats go, the closer you two get, and, you get to unlock certain CGs or screenshots or whatever you want to call them. Apparently this has an 18 plus patch. I do have it, but it's on my Lenovo, and I mean, I guess I could have captured gameplay footage off of that, but I didn't really feel like it. That the keyboard on that thing barely works, so it would be a pain to do anything with it at the moment. So I ran it off of my MSI, and I was just too lazy. I was too lazy to get the 18 plus patch, but it's out there. I'm sure the images exist. But in any event, you get to unlock these CGs as you go along, and eventually you can unlock all of them and see all of them and all that fun stuff. Basically, they mark milestones for your journey, your romantic and professional journey together. It's kind of a weird ethical conundrum here, but I mean, since it seems to me that the two parties are consenting. I guess that doesn't really matter, but I don't know. It's a very strange thing. The subtitles, or the text, I should say, it's in English, but there's a lot of mistranslation, and it can be kind of funny. Some typos, some things that are misworded or grammatically strange, which can be pretty funny. Low resolution characters that look like, cut out JPEGs superimposed over PNG backgrounds or something like that, which can also be pretty funny. But I mean, what can you do? I mean, I got this for less than $1. I mean, you can't really ask a whole lot for less than $1. I think I got it for like the equivalent of 60 cents. I know I keep harping on that, but this game's cheap look reflects the price, and maybe outdoes it's over the value of the price, if I'm going to be honest. But there are 3 currencies in this game, which are also pretty weird. It actually kind of comes off like a mobile game at first, because mobile games have multiple currencies for progression and all that fun stuff. And basically, the 2 currencies that matter to you the most is the cash and the coins. The coins can help you skip ahead on a job or be more successful during training. And the cash will buy you material stuff like, more training. But aside from that, material things like clothes and accessories and all that fun stuff. And those things can boost your stats, or her stats, and then she can get more higher paying jobs. The progression kind of snowballs at first, at least from my most recent playthrough, which is what you're seeing right here. First, you have to kind of grind in the beginning for a lot, and I think I overdid it a little bit. I didn't realize there were a lot of like other money making opportunities on the side, but it did help me build my stats enough to where I could kind of start branching out. But really, the grind is so that you can continue to pay for lessons to develop at least one of her skills, so that then she can get a higher paying job, so you don't have to work those smaller jobs as often, until eventually not at all. And the success kind of snowballs. Eventually, you start to get to a point where you have more money than you know what to do with. Of course, the demands of each job, the stat demands, increase. And so you still have to keep going to training and buying new items and all that. But you can't make it through the entire game, at least as far as I'm aware, on your first playthrough, because, by design, the gems are the third and maybe even the most important currency, because those will buy you things kind of like in the meta, things that will say like jobs take half the amount of time as they used to, or as they normally do, or something along those lines. And those gems can only be collected after each individual playthrough. So you need to finish the game multiple times in order to actually 100% complete it. And so there is, I guess, a relatively superficial layer of replayability. But once you unlock everything, it's pretty much done. Of course, I haven't done that. In fact, I haven't touched this game in a long time since the last time I played it, up until this recent one. And I guess the reason why is because, I don't know, the stat building is pretty simple, I think. Although sometimes that ticking clock really kind of, how do I say it? It really makes you think about how to ration your time, and it's really frustrating when you're trying to get that last job in, but you only have 2 days left, and so you can't finish it. And then you have to start the whole game over again. But you know, it is what it is. At the end of the game, they'll actually have like a credit sequence where they'll show you, like, you know, how many jobs you did and how well they performed commercially and everything. And you have little cut scenes where, like, you do things like go out on dates or whatever. I mean, it's nothing animated or anything extravagant or anything like that. It's pretty run of the mill, this whole game, honestly. In terms of its story, I suppose. But I guess if you unlock everything, maybe there's a special, like, ending that you can get. I'm not entirely sure. But, you know, this game is definitely an interesting one as far as, like, the perception of idols. I mean, yeah, it's not like outright that she's an idol, but idols typically do a lot of different gigs. It's sort of something that they are known to do, not just music, but also things like commercials and movies, which are also jobs that you are sort of actively encouraged to do in this game. And it is, I mean, there it is. You're basically raising this idol up from nothing to become a superstar, and then after 3 years, she disappears away with you somewhere, and you have a lot of kids, apparently, which is, for some reason, the most, like, I don't know, maybe my perception is colored because I know that this is from a Chinese developer, but it just feels very Chinese in that way. Yeah, this game is really interesting, and I don't know if I would recommend it to anybody, but it does have some kind of thing going on in terms of its idol approach. I mean, it's an idol stat builder dating sim thing, and wow, I mean, and also said it was a visual novel at the same time, which was why I was a little iffy on it to begin with, but it's not a visual novel at all. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of text, but I'd hardly call it that. There's just, yeah, I don't know. There's more gameplay in this than in a visual novel, but yeah. Really weird game. Really interesting. One that is worth checking out if you can find one, I guess, if you like idol stuff, or if you just want to see the 18+ stuff. There you go. But yeah, it's weird, man. I'm glad I got it, and I don't regret the price I paid for it because it was basically free. And that's really all there is to that.